conference at church this week. So okay, I'll look you up after the stream. Well, sometime after the stream, as I said. I've got stuff to do after the stream, but sometime this week I may look you up and send you a message and arrange a time to chat. Does that sound good? But, yeah, so Wednesday Mrs. Osa had heartburn, so she didn't go. So me and Teenage Osa went, and service finished. Service was long. I hadn't eaten yet, and it's a work night, and so Teenage Osa decides she needs to go to choir practice because there's choir practice. She doesn't tell me. She just does it because it's happening, and therefore she has to do the thing that's happening. So we get home about an hour and a half after the service. Mrs. Osa was watching the service stream, so she knows when it ended. She's sort of querying, what took so long. It's like, oh, there was choir practice. But, the fact that she didn't ask, she just assumed. I get home at 9:30 at night. I still need to have lunch, and then I still need to stay up for an hour after I've had supper, so that I don't get indigestion overnight, because otherwise I'm going to have a miserable night. I'm not going to sleep because I'm going to have heartburn all night, and I don't need that. But no, she's like, oh, no. If you want to do something, you ask the person who's giving you a ride. I mean, I admitted to Mrs. Osa, look, there were other people who live in our town who were in choir. If she'd gone and asked one of them, can I get a ride home with you after choir practice, and then come to me and said, hey, look, I've got, Brenda is made up name. Brenda is in the choir and has offered to give me a ride home. Is it okay if I stay for choir practice? That would be, from my point of view, yes. From Mrs. Osa, she'd have said no, because she doesn't have a way to give the person money for gas, which, okay, that's fair. But it's like, you didn't even ask. You just assumed. Previous week, she went off on a youth conference. So all of her stuff was in the back of the minivan. Mrs. Osa took her and the kids to church that evening, and the youth have classes downstairs during the evening service, or during the evening sermon. So sermon ends, Mrs. Osa and the kids are sitting in the foyer waiting for Teenage Osa, so she can take her stuff, drop it off in, take her stuff out of the van, and Mrs. Osa and the kids can come home. Oh no, they wait about 15-20 minutes, and then Mrs. Osa sends one of the kids downstairs to find out what's happened to Teenage Osa. Oh, she's decided to practice a song with her friends. And it's like, you come upstairs, you get your stuff out of the van, you put it in the church, and then you go and sing with your friends all freaking night. Because they were leaving on the minibus at 2 o'clock in the morning or something. So, it's 8 o'clock, by that time it's 8:30 at night. You've got 4 hours, 5 hours to practice your song, and nobody's waiting on you. But no, you don't consider that. You consider, I need to practice this song with my friends immediately. And everybody can wait for me for when I feel like getting the stuff out the back of the truck or out of the van. So, not happy. the two kids gave her a real earful for that. And her attitude is just, oh, I needed to practice my singing. No. You need to be considerate to other people around you. Then you can go and practice your singing for the next 5-6 hours. You can even sing in the bus for all we care. I pointed out to Mrs. Oser, if I'd been there, her stuff would have been in the parking lot. We'd have gone home. Because that's just consideration and she has none. Anyway, enough complaining about that. So what else has been going on? Really not a lot else has been going on. I do intend to, if I can, I'm going to go downstairs. We've got the trash to sort out in the garage. But then I also want to level the model railway tables this week, or today. If I can get them all levelled up, then I should be able to start working on the frame for the track bed. Once that's done, I can get some insulation board from one of our DIY stores or hardware stores, and the next layer of track bed can be laid, and then after that, I've still got 23 minutes to run on the mower. That's good. After that, it will be probably about time to actually lay some track. I'm really looking forward to getting, as I've said, I want 2 circles. The main station is going to have a lot of switches, so I got all of the switches I need for the main line only. So we'll just have 2 tracks and switches coming off to get into bay platforms and yards, freight yards. But I don't have any track for the yards themselves. I have the straights, but I don't have any turnouts for the yards. Not a problem. We'll do that, and then I will be I need to get some cabling laid, and I'll be able to run trains, and I will be able to do locomotive and rolling stock maintenance when I'm not downstairs. Then I can start considering scenery and what have you. But things will progress, and I'll feel at least I will feel I've achieved something if I can run a train in a loop around the basement, or around the inner circle of the basement. At the moment, as I think I said before, at the moment I've got 2 locomotives I know are ready to go. I've got control chips for 2 more, but I'm not putting the chips in the locomotives because I've got no way to test them and run them. But having 2 loops means I can run the train, run the 2 that I have. So there's something to watch while I'm doing other things. And then as I said, I can start working on scenery. Now, one of the there's Australian guy, or maybe New Zealand guy, can't remember. He's either from Australia or New Zealand, and he's building a British model railway. So not, and that's not necessarily uncommon. There's the DCC guy, Larry Puckett, up until recently has had an American layout. Well, he's an American, but also a British 1930s-ish Great Western branch line. So, you know, he does have British, at least some British interest. He doesn't feature his British railway very frequently, but every so often he'll feature something on it. I'm expecting him to feature more now because he's dismantled his American railway because he had a bit of a health scare. He's not in any serious condition, but it did make him think, what's going to happen if, when I'm gone, what's my wife going to do? She's not going to know what to do with any of this stuff, so he's decided to divest himself of a lot of his American stuff. Oops. So, as I said, there's this, I'll say he's New Zealander, but he's got into laser cutting stuff, and it'll be probably 6-7 months ago. He was talking about building models and whether you should use, I think he's ended up using MDF with paper printed with brick designs stuck over the top of them to make his buildings. And he did cover the thought that some people will use brick embossed plastic art, and he discussed the pros and cons of using them. Now, brick embossed plastic art is very easy to paint right, shall we say, because you can paint the brick and then get a wash of sort of mortar colour and paint the wash over the brick, and you end up with something that looks like proper brick. And then you can weather the stuff as well. With paper, you can print the weathering and the mortar on it, so you can end up with a very nice finish on it. You got the problem with where it joins, but with plastic art you've got the problem where it joins. But he said the reason he uses paper is because when you think about the scale you're doing things, in 00 scale you're doing 1 millimetre equals 4 feet. I think in HO you're doing 1 millimetre equals 4 feet. 1 feet, sorry. 4 millimetres equals 1 foot. So if you have something that is 0.5 millimetre deep, as in brick embossed plastic art, with a 0.5 millimetre deep mortar run, that's the equivalent of 6 inches. 0.5 millimetre, 4 millimetre, no, hang on, 4 millimetre to the foot, so 0.5 millimetre is 8 into 12 is 1.5 inches. Okay, go find a brick wall and tell me if the mortar is recessed into the brick course by 1.5 inches. It's not. It's about 1/2 inch, if that, 1/4 inch. You can't model 1/4 inch precisely in HO00 scale. everything is over scale, if you like, if you're doing that. So paper actually works. Paper has no context. Is it context? No, not context. Contrast. Yeah, it's paper. It's smooth. It's relatively smooth. But if you had brick embossed plastic card that had the embossed depth was 1/10 of a millimeter, you paint over it, you've just wiped out that that whole texture thing. It's going to be smooth. So what's the point? And then it got me thinking on static grass. A lot of people like to use static grass because it makes things look realistic. Now, my granddad's era, back in the 1960s, they used green scatter powders effectively to represent grass fields. And quite frankly, when you look at static grass, you can get static grass in 1 mil, 2 mil lengths. That's 6 inches. 1 mil is 3 inches. That might be to scale for your front yard lawn just before you run the lawnmower over it. 2 mil, you're talking 6 inches deep. That's wild scrubland. It's not somebody's front yard or backyard. So using static grass, especially if you're going 3 mil, 4 mil, totally overscale. You may find that in the wilderness, especially up against, say, a wall or a fence where nobody can get close enough to mow it. But the grass we have here, how tall is that? That might be 1/2 foot, maybe. So, you're kind of looking at less than 2 mil static grass for the edges of an arable field, but it's not going to be, someone's manicured front yard lawn is not going to be that big. So using scatter material may actually be close enough representative. And if I am planning to do countryside on one side, so I may experiment with static grass, and only the really short stuff, 2 mil, 1 mil static grass in the wilds, just to give it an unkempt look as opposed to manicured lawn. But I don't think you can use static grass for a manicured lawn representation, because quite frankly it's just too big. But those adventures still to come. I found our old digital movie camera. I have no idea if it still works. I need to get it out, check the battery, see if it works, check how much memory it has. But if it works, then I might think about recording some of my building endeavours. I'm probably not going to do a weekly or monthly model railway series. It won't be on this channel, it'll be on a different channel. but also it provides more of a documentation of how I went about doing things, as opposed to this is what I did this week. So it will be edited highlights of stuff, and I will probably talk over the resultant video as opposed to attempt to sit down in front of a camera and talk about things while I'm doing them. Which means doing a monthly update thing is not going to be easy. A monthly update could be little more than me walking around with a camera saying I did this, I did this, I did this, but documentation of how I did this would need to be a sort of me videoing me doing a thing, and then me editing the video, talking over it. So I'm not talking while I'm doing, because that's complicated. Okay, looks like the last 2 rows and the mower is nearly done on the field it's currently working, which is a good thing. And then we have one interior field left to do and the other big one, and the mowing will be done. I should get over and start picking it all up, I guess. I should also get this back to the farm and fix the broken tines on the cultivator, because I'm sure there are a lot. And those packers probably need a little bit of a clean out as well. It's actually, that's not bad. I thought, oh no, I have to go back down the field to finish this off, but the exit's at the bottom of the field, so actually, no, that's a good thing. Oh, we haven't looked at what's on sale in the store either. I have added the auto load pallet trailer. Car pallet trailer. So that's now available for purchase, so I might purchase that for our little truck to do all of the shipping of flour to the store. As we found out from Cavalier Roy last week, I need to plant some sugar beet fields, which means that either I need to buy a couple more fields over the winter and get them all fully prepared for sugar beet in spring, or something else. Or we're not doing sugar beets this year. So I don't need to accept contracts, I need to collect that one and collect that one. 44.50, 62.93, 44.50, 62. So, where is... So 50's there, 62, 93, 44. So we'll probably end up doing 93, 44, 62, 50, and then pile through the middle. Sounds good to me. In the meantime, I want to get this back, and we will give the cultivator the once over 1 minute before the mower finishes. So I'm not sure if that field on our right is, I think it's probably sunflowers ready to harvest, as opposed to sunflowers withered, which is the thing. Anyway, we must work our way here. Another one. Is that my field? That's my field. That's my field of canolas. I was thinking of buying some bees and sticking them around this field here. It will give us honey, which I think we need for our production, and it will give us